AMIAS as I am, as you are. Okay, well, this is basically a part two to the discussion about sickness and what sickness really is from a metaphysical point of view. Okay. Well, I have a few one-liners I'm gonna open up and we'll take it from there. All right, so let's get into it. Okay. In order to understand what sickness is, you have to understand certain principles or certain functions that are at hand. 5 things, just keep in mind 5 things. You have wave, liquid, fluid, plasma, mucus. Now, these are 5 descriptions or 5 identifications of how what we know as sickness in the body and in the brain kind of develop or come into a manifested reality. The reason why I say wave is first is because I'm giving an example of a mind pattern or a thought pattern that you may have, that you may think like. And let's say that you think a certain way and it creates a certain wave. um, at the same time as an outward wave, it's also an inward wave, and it houses itself inside the body. So the mind, how you're thinking, travels down to the heart, and the heart will beat according to the template of the mind and what the mind is holding in place. And the heart will beat a certain way, and that beat that the heart gives out will vibrate throughout the body. And it affects basically the blood or the blood plasma. And we know that blood is also liquid as well. It's a certain kind of liquid, a certain kind of fluid. Fluid just means fluidity, something that is actually moving, if you want to say. It's fluid. There's no stopping. It's fluid. It's fluid throughout the whole system. So this is how, basically how, if you have a certain ill thought or a negative thought, or you're thinking of something that isn't balanced or may cause an imbalance to the body system, this thought connected to the heart and brain and heart, which are one of the first two organs to develop inside of a fetus, inside the stomach. When you're in the stomach, these things kind of develop simultaneously. Some say it's the heart that beats and actually creates the formation of the brain. Some say it's the brain and the heart kind of develop simultaneously with each other while you are in embryogenesis. But either way, we know that these two things are connected. They're both muscle. Brain is a muscle, heart is a muscle, also known as an organ as well. And whatever happens here affects here. And then whatever happens here affects here. So two of these things are pals. So when you're thinking ill negative or in a way that's not beneficial to your health, to your mental health state and your emotional health state, it sends out a certain kind of wave. It's a wave. You think a certain way. And this wave, the next formation of wave will be liquid. It affects the liquid of your body. The next stage after liquid would be basically the fluid. It becomes fluid. After the wave gets inside the liquid, it gets inside the liquid and it becomes fluid inside the liquid. So from this point, after the liquid stage, it seeks to become a plasma or a plasmic inside of a plasmic-like state, because it's trying to go from nothing into something. It's trying to find its way from, air into physical formation to some degree. So let's just say you think a negative way. I hate her. I hate him. I hate this. I wish they were dead. Who cares about them? How dare they? How dare she? How dare he? This pattern of mind, or this mind pattern, trickles down to the heart, and the heart beats to match the template of the mind. So, which is why you get angry sometimes, you can get mad, you get pissed off, and you're so aggravated, you're so frustrated that when you're thinking a certain way and you get that way, this is why your heart starts to beat quicker. Because the heart is just matching the template of the mind. This is when your blood pressure goes up and all type of things happen inside the body, or becomes noticed in the body in the health state. So I guess you can say, if you want to say thought pattern in a certain way, you can say signal. Okay, instead of saying water to liquid to fluid to plasma to mucus, you can say signal. The mind's a signal, signals out something to the heart or signals out around you as well. Water, it gets inside the liquid and the fluid and the plasma, the blood, and then a gel or a gelatinous type state, which makes that plasma potential to form into the possibility of what we know as mucus. When it gets to mucus, the fifth state, that mucus is the thickest plasma, or the thickest gel that liquid or that blood can become, and it starts to turn color into darker and darker and darker hues, darker colors. And this is even with a technique that I indulge in as well as a martial artist. It's called burning palm. And burning palm is if you hit somebody in the back or their chest in a certain way, or their arm, wherever on their body, you're waiting to see, as a practitioner, to see what color blood comes to the surface. The more darker the blood, the more sickness or illness or imbalance or ailment may be in that section or that location of the body. So I say that to say this: the more darker a liquid, a fluid, a plasma gets, which is what we know as mucus, the more ill or sick or psyched the individual or being has become. So this shows certain sick states or states of sickness or psychosis with the psyche. You become psyched, you psych yourself. And these different color transformations are different vibrations. And this is why I say that something which is nothing can find its way into a something. This is how nothing becomes something, in other words. And you are the thing in the middle that it can go through to become something. It has to go through you in order to become something. Okay, this is sickness. Once again, touching upon the understanding, metaphysical understanding of what sickness is. Okay, so I guess you could say a signal. You send a signal out, and it gets to the heart and starts pumping through the pipes and gets into the blood with the water and into a gel or plasma. And the last stage of that is mucus. Mucus is the darkest color, the darkest green or dark yellow, whatever it may be, that will form. That is the last plasmic formation or gel-like, gelatinous formation before it can become a hardening or a hard thing within the artery or the veins of the individual. Okay, so this is just this wave trying to find its formation. And this is how a wave can turn into forms and different formalities and different formations of things in third dimensional reality. Okay, so basically, this is why I say, and people know me for saying this and understanding this, that vibration equals manifestation. So vibration equals manifestation. What vibrates seeks to manifest itself in some form, in some way, at some time, somehow. Okay. Basically, that's why I said, you get angry, you get mad, you begin to shake, you begin to vibrate. When you get mad, you get angry, and then you raise your voice, which means you raise your tone, you raise your octaves. Then you scream and you yell, and that's also as well as vibrating throughout the innards of the organismic body. You're vibrating throughout the innards of you. And this just means a bouncing off of certain artery walls or vein walls. It's this pipe and this tube, and these sounds are just bouncing off of each other, and it starts to create something. It starts to geometrically trace into a form of some kind. Okay, this is just trying to make it simple but as detailed as possible as well. Okay, it's a very subtle thing that happens, which is why sometimes we don't have control and discipline over our anger issues or our frustrations or getting mad at somebody or something over, you know, whatever may happen, because it's so subtle. We just don't understand the basic principles and metaphysics of what's actually happening. And we don't take time to address it and confront it within ourselves in order to correct that mistake or to correct that imbalance. Pardon me. So these things travel throughout the pipes or the pipage of your organs, of your veins, your arteries, your bones, your muscle, your blood, the osseous tissue, etc. It's just a wave, something that doesn't have a body, just finding itself through many different pipes and pipages throughout your body. Because this is where it exists, this is where it created itself, through your mind. So it's finding itself through the many hallways and doorways that you have inside of this body to become something at some end, somewhere. It needs to be seek something. It may become arthritis. It may seek itself here and become a heart disease or stroke. It may seek itself here and become liver damage, and it may seek itself here somewhere and stop and become, or in the eyes or something, become glaucoma. It seeks to hit a wall and then turn back on itself and then start to create. So this is the vibration pattern, seeking itself from nothing into something, from 0 into 1, or 0 plus, if you want to say. So you get mad, you yell, you scream. These are echoes, echoing from the deepest caves or the deepest cavities of the body to the outer surface of the flesh and beyond. Okay? So basically it's like from echo to aqua, meaning from sound into color. Like we talk about the different forms of formations and different colors going through different colors. And colors actually deal with mood swings and their mood changes, which is why they got mood rings. Mood rings, number color rings that turn color depending upon your mood or the state that you're in or the sun or the environment or atmosphere or whatever. But it determines your mood, your emotion, or it tells you the color of your mood, your emotion. So echo, you yell, scream, get angry, yell, and these different tones and octaves start to seek a color. So we say echo to aqua, or since it's of your egoic state, ego to agua. So it's finding its way to become something at some point. Okay? And it basically finds its way through, I guess you can say, through your nerves, because that's what shakes and that's what may cause sickness and illness and imbalance. Through your nerves and nerve hallways, or the halls of your nerves, which is why every nerve comes to a point or a tip. It may start out like this, and it comes to a point or a tip. It branches out. Your nerves are branches. They branch out like veins until they reach a tip or a point. And the reason why it reaches that tip or that point because it's synthesizing that energy or synthesizing that wave until it hits that point and then just spurts out into something else. So everything reaches a point, which is why your fingers even have points. Or it may be thicker here, but it gets slimmer as it goes up. Same thing with the pinky. It gets thicker at the base, but it's more slim at the tip. This is where the whole science of the triangle comes in. And why the triangle tip is symbolic of which astrological celestial body is connected to, astrological alignment. While the tip always is basically like the point of power, or the point of release, or the point of transformation. Okay, just breaking certain things down here. Let's just run through this for a quick second. The next line is also to give you evidence of how a sickness manifests itself. The next thing is ideas seek to become inventions. Cranberry juice. Right? Ideas seek to become inventions. I'm breaking down to you why a thought or an ill-mannered behavior or mind state seeks to become something physical. So another example is ideas. Your ideas seek to become an invention, right? True or false? True. Through you and your existence. So ideas seek to become an invention through you and your existence. Okay? So in other words, thought seeks to become action Intent seeks to be seen by you, the one with the intent or the intention to do so, to do whatever. Okay? These are just certain things to keep in mind and keep in heart, keep in mind and keep in heart, which I call Kimah, keep in mind and heart of these principles and these subtle things that are happening that you may not even identify or notice or realize or recognize, but it's actually happening. It's actually a real, very real thing which is going on. Okay? Ways to understand what sickness is or psychness, being sick or being psyched. Okay? And what goes on within the body and the brain or the mind. At the same time, you are psyching yourself or have become psyched, which is what we know as sick. Okay? Let's go on to the next one. We are not a life. We're a bridge or a bridging of some sort. A certain kind of bridge. Well, what do you mean by that? Basically, we're something in the middle, like I said. You get a thought, and that thought seeks to become action. You have an intent, and that intent seeks to be seen in third density. Something which is not has no density seeking to become density, which is once again why I explained throughout the beginning of this video how something, a signal, can turn into water. You know, how a wave can turn into liquid. It's seeking its formation, seeking to be something. Okay. So basically, in other words, we're like, you can say we're life, you can say we're living, you can say we exist, you can say whatever you want to say, but in a way, we are like, basically, we're something in the middle between potential life and life possible. Everything seeks to go through us, through our mind and our body and our chemistry and our biology to become a life. Since we are the life force in the middle, every force has to seek this life force in order to become a force of life. Okay? It's understanding. Just running through this for a quick second. Okay. The next thing is, next line is, next doorway is, we are the permission. The permission for that which isn't into that which is or can be. So in other words, instead of saying we're life, you can say we're the bridge, or we are a bridge. Instead of saying we are a bridge, you can say that we are permission. We are some kind of permission. We give a permit. We permit things to happen. We agree and give it a permit. We give it permission to be. Okay, whether we're conscious of it or not conscious of it, we still give it life. And life can only be life through us, which are the life force, which is the main life force in this reality. Okay. Okay. Next one is next line is one dimensionality, which you could say thought or mental action, seeks itself into third density, which is what we call chemical or physical action. So that which is a thought has an effect or a play on our chemistry and our biology. So one dimensional means a thought, something I'm thinking of. I'm mad. I'm angry. It's a thought. It's a screen. It's a background. It's a green screen. It's a template. And this template basically is something that is basically one dimensional, which is a flat plane of existence. It has no third density. It has no body or embodiment or form just yet. And so this one dimensionality seeks to be third dimensional. So a flat plane which doesn't have a pop out, like a pop out book, doesn't have a body or a surface to protrude from, doesn't create a shadow. There is no light directing itself on it, but your thought. And it's seeking to become something of 3D. In other words, it's seeking to become a pop up book. Okay, so your thought is like seeing a book and opening a pop up book, but it's a flat plane. Then third dimensional, it's seeking to become a form. When you open a book up and these things pop out from the page, that's what your thought is seeking. That is what that screen of thought or imagery or image or images is seeking to become a third dimensional plane, protruding from a surface to give it a third dimensional reality in your third dimensional existence. Okay? Don't get lost. Get found. Stay with me. Follow me. Okay? Not much left. The next line is These, I'm gonna give you examples. I didn't make it too much clearer in um, the other video I had of sickness, part one. But these are examples because I kept saying, sickness can be this way, it can be that way, but I didn't give you examples. Let me give you a few examples. And these are examples of not being in the moment or examples of you not being present. Remember, when you're not in the moment and you're not present, things start to occur and accumulate and create itself within your body and your mind or your brain as well. Okay, your organs, arteries, veins, bones, blood, muscle, etc., tissue, everything. Okay, so these are examples of not being in the moment or not being present. These examples are holding on to anger or resentment. Remember, it's a vibrational state being held in place. And this bouncing or this vibrating is bouncing and banking off of the veins, the artery, the hallways of the veins and artery, the pipes and the tubes of your veins, arteries, and organs, your skin, your muscle, your tissue, everything. It's vibrating. The bone is vibrating everywhere, trying to find a form, trying to become a form somewhere within the body. It's trying to find a home within you. Okay. Another example is frustration, confusion, aggravation. These are examples of not being in the moment and not being present. So once again, holding on to anger and resentment is another way of not being present and not being in the moment. Frustration, confusion, and aggravation are the examples of not being present and not being in the moment. Holding on to the past is another example of not being present and not being in the moment. Presently reliving a memory horrifically, which is another example of not being present and not being within the moment. Unforgiving, not letting go, or unable to let go. And these are things or basic, clear examples of when you are not being present and when you are not in the moment. And when you are not present and not in the moment, you have to be prepared for what will happen next, which is a sickness or an ailment or illness or an imbalance will or is creating itself to become something within the body in some form, from the wave, the thought, to liquid, the beginning of the blood, or another way that blood can form into, which is why you have blood thinner, like garlic. You have blood thinners, like garlic, as an example, to thin the blood, because the blood is a plasma, which is a gel or gelatinous form of plasma, which can actually turn back into a liquid. Okay, so this is why you have wave, liquid, fluid, which just means a movement, a steady movement, concurrent movement, or a current movement, a consistent movement. Plasma, mucus. Once again, it's seeking, that wave is seeking to become mucus eventually, because the wave can't harden, doesn't have a body form just yet. Liquid is too thin to harden. Fluidity is just a movement. Plasma is potential to harden. Mucus is the possibility of beginning to harden or potential to harden as well. So the wave is seeking to become plasma. Or, pardon me, the wave is seeking to become mucus. That's its end point. That's its end result. And we want to get here. We want to get from here to here. Okay? So these are basic things. Once again, one more time, examples. When you're not being present or in the moment, keep this in mind and in heart. I'm not being in the present or in the moment, and I'm creating a potential sickness within myself if I'm holding on to anger or being resentful, resentment, frustration, confusion, and aggravation. I'm confused, frustrated, aggravated, holding on to a past of some sort, presently reliving a horrific memory, unforgiving or not letting go, or being unable to let go, or making myself unable to let go of something which I am able to do, but I'm not acting on it because I have no control or discipline. Keep this in mind of yourself when you're doing these things, okay? The next line is about 2 or 3 more lines. The next line, the next doorway is your body. What is my body? How do I know that it does this, that it has this function? Well, first of all, your body is a converting, transferring, manifesting, transforming piece of machinery. And this is something that you have to understand. What do I mean by convert, transfer, manifest, and transform? Well, when you eat a burger or you eat fries or you eat rice, it turns into a certain kind of liquid, which is what you call piss and urine, and it turns into a certain kind of feces, which is what you call shit. So we know that what we consume doesn't come out through the two exits the same. When you eat a fry, you don't shit a fry. When you eat chicken, you don't piss chicken. These things are going through a transferring, converting, uh, manifesting process. And this is the same thing with your thoughts. It does the same thing. Okay? So this is why you know that this body or this embodiment has these qualities and can do these things and does do these things, whether you know it or not. So use your conversion, your converting, your transferring, your manifesting, and your transforming qualities to your benefit. Okay? To your benefit, not against you, before you. Make it serve you, don't serve it. Hey, the body is your slave and you are the master. But when you become victim of your body and not knowing how your mind and your body works, then you, the master, become a slave to the slave itself. You are the master, the body and the mind is a slave for you. But if the master doesn't know that it's the master, it becomes a slave. A slave to who? A slave to the slave itself. And the slave is not in control. The master's in control. But you don't know you're a master. You forgot you're a master. You don't know how to master this. Learn how to master this. Okay? Last two. Last one of the doorways. Next doorway is we are nothing. We are composed of nothing but pipes, tubes, organs, cavities, and caves. Like the cave of the mouth, the cavity of the chest, the pipes, tubes, and organs, of course, we know as the veins or arteries. So we are pipes and tubes and, caves and caverns and, something that has a deep, a deep room inside of us. We have deep rooms. So deep, dark rooms. This is what you have to understand. Understand what you are. And why are we this thing? Because once again, our voice, my voice, is finding expression to become something or to any kind of thing. If I become imbalanced at any point, it's seeking to become something, and it needs to become something by bouncing and banking off of certain kind of walls or hallway or tube or pipe of some sort to geometrically trace itself from its nothingness into its somethingness. Okay, and it needs something enclosed, but a hole to go through to bounce off of things. Okay, and this gets a little more deeper biologically, but I just want to explain it to you just to make things a little more simple. I'm trying to keep subtlety in a understanding of simplicity. Just being real, kind of outlining it, but also giving you the innards of it as well. But subtly touching upon points that we can get deeper with maybe later on. I'm also writing a book as well, and it'll make an impact on the mind. And the last doorway we have here is negative thoughts turn into temperature in the body. And trapped light inside a globe or globing transforms into temperature, what you call fever, cold, etc. And that light, see, that's the same thing with the sun. I had this discussion about the sun, and while the sun isn't hot, but how does it get hot over here in what we call a planet or Earth? I don't call it a planet or Earth because I don't know this is a planet or Earth. I just know I'm here, and this is a dimension. This is a plane of existence. But they say if the sun ain't hot, why are we hot when the sun shines? I say, well, when light shines through something and it hits a certain kind of surface or a dimension, inside of that dimension, it creates a certain kind of temperature. So light is not hot. When light is shot and encased into a certain kind of body, it transforms from light into temperature, just like a bulb. If you have a bulb in your lamp, on your ceiling, or anywhere like that, um, check it out. The bulb itself may be hot, but the light on the inside of the bulb is not hot. Light can only be hot when it's entrapped within a certain kind of form. That's when light converts into temperature. But light itself is not hot. I say that to say this: when your thoughts, if you keep an ill image or an ill thought in your mind and it's on repeat, this light entrapped inside of this body, or became entrapped inside of this body, converts into a temperature, or what we know as heat, what we know as fever, or catching a cold, or pneumonia, or whatever formation this thing takes on. It's just an example of a light being trapped inside of a body or an embodiment or a form of some sort. Now it converts into what we know as temperature. And this is why you get hot if you keep an ill thought in mind. And then other things start to happen. Remember, you're already 98.6. So, anything else is just extra that I wouldn't advise you to take on. My advice is to take it off, get it out of you, work on self. Okay? Once again, we're just touching upon the topic of sickness, or being sick, or becoming sick, which is actually becoming psyched. Psyching yourself out. Don't psych yourself out. Okay? You are the magician. Control your own illusion and create your own matrix that's suitable and beneficial for you. Okay? You're a program. Create your virtual reality according to how you want to be, what you want, or who you want to be. Okay. Other than that, I guess you know how this goes. Until next time, I'll see you guys. Until next time, I'll keep you in vision. AMIAS as I am, as you are. 1, 0.